Hey guys, it's Marta. Welcome to September Garden. Today I wanted to talk about the gardening jobs I'm planning for September and what happened during the summer. Let's begin. So I got some of the messages, why didn't we have a video last week? So a part of our team, as you can see, you can always see me, but my husband is recording, had a spine injury and we had to postpone doing some of the videos, and some of the videos that will appear might be in a different way, made in a different way, because they'll be more static, because as you know, with some injuries you need time to recover. So hopefully we'll get there very, very soon, but I really hope that you will understand why some of the videos might look a bit different than usually. So how was the summer in our garden? This year was unusual. It was very, very hot with very little rain, and when it was raining cats and dogs. It was really like huge storms with a lot of water that the garden was unable to take in at once. So that was not a good thing. What I can remember is that same kind of summer we had like 22 years ago when I was pregnant with my daughter. And I remember, because when you're pregnant you really feel those temperatures, I remember that very distinctively. So but this year I always try to look at life that way, that when something unusual happens I can observe how my garden reacts. So I was searching for the plants that are performing really well in the heat and they can withstand the amount of water they get. So that was very good for as an experience, that I could get which ones I should stick to and which ones didn't perform well, and what I can change in the garden so it performs better in the coming years if the same situation happens. So when summer happens and you have a lot of heat, the plants are suffering, you are suffering too with your plants because you love them, they are like your babies. So I always try to take notes, not only mental notes, but I try to put them on paper and I try to write what did not work, what worked, what didn't, and I want them on paper or on your computer or on your phone, but I will not look at those notes until the winter comes, because when winter will come you'll have a lot of cold days if you live in a place that is cold. All of those emotions like go away, you miss your garden, you're very optimistic waiting for the spring, and you do not remember well what did not work. So I try to come back to them maybe probably January, because then you'll be waiting for Christmas and whatever. But in January, this is the time for me to plan my garden, to plan the year, and then I will come back to those notes and I will examine them. I will try to think of ways to get out of those problems, and I think it is a great job to do in September. Okay guys, I really need to get up because I hate sitting just in one place, so let's change some scenery and we'll talk about more about the jobs I'm planning for this month. Let's go. So the first job I do in September, and I think the one that I do most, is pruning and deadheading. If you read a lot of articles, a lot of books, you will hear or read that it is good to stop pruning and deadheading at some moment in the fall or in the autumn, as you say it, because the plants need to prepare themselves for the winter. So I've been trying, as I always do, I've been trying different approaches, stopping earlier, later, and I found out that pruning and deadheading until the end of September, for me in my zone, we are 6B, 7A, depending on it really changes now because the climate is changing here. For me, it really works, and I've never had been, my garden never showed me that this is the wrong approach, and I think each of us should find the way that is good for us. So I still do it. I prune until the end of September, and the plants seem to be really happy about it. Here you can see my rose, Queen of Sweden, and I wanted to talk about how I prune my roses. Depending on the rose and depending what I want from it, I will prune it in a different way. At the beginning of September, I really want those blooms, I really want those colors. So if I have spent flowers, as you can see here, we can see the buds that will bloom in a moment, but here we have some buds that are spent. I will just prune them after the leaf that has 5 single leaves, and I will wait for another flowers to appear. But if we are getting right at the end of September and I have a rose that is really tall, and if I leave it for winter this way, like Chopin is like this rose that grows 2.5 meters tall, and the winds in the winter will rock the rose left and right, and that might make the roots of the rose not be positioned in the ground perfectly, because the rocking of the stems might just disturb the root system. So then at the end of September I will be pruning really hard, so I have the rose that is, let's just say, until just like the height of my waist, and then I know that it will be safer for the winter. And at the end of September I stop pruning, and I will let the rose prepare for the winter. Okay, not everybody loves roses. What about perennials? Can you prune perennials? In one of the last videos I've been showing you the way that I prune my perennials, so very hard job, almost to the ground, but I do that until the end of summer. If we are getting into the fall or the autumn, depending on where you live, I would rather do the pruning just like a third of the plant, because when you prune hard to the ground in September, you are not likely to get into the flowering period of this plant. But if you reduce your perennials just by thirds, you still can get some flowers. The great example of this is the phlox. As I was looking at the videos from last year or 2 years ago on my channel, and I was like, oh my god, at the end of September we had the phlox David blooming. This is a beautiful white phlox, and this year they are green. The flowers finished like 2 weeks ago or 3 weeks ago, because this year everything is earlier in our garden. But still, I will do this week. I will prune them by a third, and they will develop new leaves, and then hopefully they will bloom for us again. It's always worth trying and see if we get some flowers. This is always a great experience. Even if we don't get the flowers, it always teaches us something about how our garden performs. So this space behind me is a space that is critical for my creative thinking for next year. We have a lot of birch trees and other trees, not only birch trees. There are several of them. They are very old, and they have a really expansive root system. So those roots are taking up all of the water that is getting to this border. So a lot of plants are suffering, and they've been suffering through the whole of summer, and some of them really surprised me, like coneflowers were really suffering. The only plants that really survived well were the roses and the sedums. So rose is a really good plant if you have problems with water. I really think that it's because they have such deep root systems, and they can really withstand the lack of water for a really long time. We'll see what I come up with. I really need to gather my thoughts about this border, think what went wrong, how can I make it better, and hopefully some good ideas will come to me. Okay, I wanted to come back to the pruning. We talked about the rose pruning, we talked about the perennials, but what about the hedges or the leafy bushes that you have in your garden? Can you still prune them? Of course, we are all in different zones, but I will talk about my experiences. So I've been pruning until the end of September. Like, I've been pruning my box, I've been pruning my yew, I've been pruning my ligustrum, or even some of the trees that I have. I've been pruning them all in September, and sometimes I've had really even better than the summer pruning the experiences, because the summer can be hot, the sun can be scorching, and September is definitely milder, although we are at the end of the first week of September, and today was 27 degrees Celsius, so really hot and not typical for September. But definitely the weather is milder. I'm trying to choose the moment that is dry, there will be no rain, not in scorching sun, and then I prune my plants. Of course, I would prefer to do it in the beginning of September, not the end, but I've been doing that like through most of this month, and I've been having great results. So hopefully you will too. So what about fertilizing? Is September a good month to do it? I always go for autumn fertilizers. Those fertilizers do not have that much nitrogen, they will have more phosphorus and potassium, so they will help your plants get into the winter so much better than the nitrogen. Nitrogen will give your plants a boost to produce new leafy growth, and we do not want that before the winter. We want the plants to be more woody, to have better root systems and not grow like crazy. So this is what we want. That's why we'll be using the autumn fertilizers. You do not have to do it. It's like, I never want to say anything that you have to do it. If you don't do it, something terrible will happen. No. I think you just have to look at your garden. I think that my garden that is getting a lot of compost and a lot of fertilizers every year, if I did not do nothing, I wouldn't do anything for a year, I think everything would bloom just the same, because the soil is really rich. But if you were observing your plants and you see that they lacked in color, they lacked in vigor, it is good to give them this boost. And I think that the autumn fertilizing can be really important, because they will get a better root system, especially if you do not live in really harsh winters. They will still have months to produce good roots, good stems, like having them more woody will be more, it will be safer for them if some frosts come, so I would go for it. So most of the messages I get this month is it a good time to plant, to replant, to divide, and to plant your bulbs? I would say no to all of them. If I was to think about my experience, and my experience multiplied by the experience of people who've been watching me for so many years, and we always talk about the gardens. So if you have plants in pots, of course you can plant them through the year when the ground is not frozen. But if you're planning to replant some of your plants, oh my god, this is a nice combo of words, I think it's better to wait until October. October will be definitely more wet, at least in my country. It will be a bit, the temperatures will be lower, and I think it's better for the plants. You need some plants to be moist, and they will, I think, develop better roots then. So I'm always waiting for October, then I will divide my perennials, I will replant some of my plants, I will plant new ones, and I also will be planting new ones with bare roots. And if we're talking about bulb planting, I've been planting them for several years, and also I've been getting a lot of messages, I think now in thousands, from people who were having successes or failures with their bulbs. And I came to the conclusion that I'm an avid supporter of this idea of planting the bulbs in late October and even November. I think it's, especially in my country now, a lot of people were planting them in September, and the leaves started appearing before Christmas. And then we get a lot of frost, so the leaves were damaged and they did not look that well in spring. They bloomed, but the plants suffered. So I think for me, the best time is to plant them later. It's best to do it after the first frost comes. So if you had some fire blight or problems with fungal disease, it might kill the spores of those diseases. So it's also good for your bulbs. And I think for the development, it is better to plant late. I've never had problems with plants, bulbs planted even late in the season. And I've even had some great surprises. Like when I planted some of my alliums, I planted them in January. And I've had a prolonged time of blooming of my alliums. First, those ones that were the oldest bloom, then I had several different varieties, but then those planted really late in the season, in the shady position, and they were late blooms. I've had them, and you were asking me, how is that possible that you have alliums that are in the summer? That was it. I planted them really, really late, so that was a great experience for me. Guys, I wanted to show you this plant. This is Sedum matrona. This space in my garden is the driest of them all, the driest space in my garden. I've been struggling with planting something here for years. I always had this problem that I wanted some color and nothing worked because everything dried out. We have a lot of trees here, so you'll see pines, maples and birches, and all of those root systems are intertwined below the ground, so the plants were really struggling, and Sedum matrona was the plant that really cherishes this. So it's like in life, everyone will find their space when they will thrive, when everybody else is really unhappy. So I'm really happy for my Sedum matrona and all of those pollinators that are really having their best life feeding on those flowers. I wanted to end the video here because this is my favorite border now in the garden. It looks beautiful in the fall. I really love how you can get such results in just not even the whole year. I was planting the plants here in November. All of them are new plants, and look how lush this border looks, and those colors are really magnificent. So hopefully we'll talk about this border in the next videos, but I wanted to ask you if you would like to us to make a video, a Q&A. You can ask any kind of questions. They can be garden related, our work as content creators, or our life, or our experiences in life, whatever you want. Just leave your comments today in the comment section and we'll make a video. I really love doing those Q&A videos. I've been doing them on my Polish channel for years, and I know that everybody loves them. Hopefully you will do too, so let us know if you want that. And if you like today's video, please give it a thumbs up, consider subscribing, and we'll see you in the next one. Hopefully we have a great spring, summer, no, it's fall. Hopefully we have a great fall, and our health journey will be fast, and a lot of videos will come in normal manner. See you next time. Bye.